This week's Patch Tuesday also dropped us iOS 18.3.2 with a WebKit OD, a fix for a WebKit 0-day that's marked as exploited. The language from Apple is that this may have been exploited in an extremely sophisticated attack against specific targeted individuals. And they say the exploit worked on versions of iOS before iOS 17.2. This is the same language we just heard about with the USB bypass, the tethering exploit from, I believe, a month ago or maybe a few weeks ago. Again, looking through the credits here, it says credit Apple. What do you think happened here, Costin? You think this is just them figuring out something based on an old investigation, or this is something fresh?
So I looked a bit into this story because they say this is a supplementary fix for an attack that was blocked in iOS 17.2. So immediately I wanted to see which attack. What are they talking about? Like, this is a supplementary fix for which specific attack? So I looked a bit at iOS 17.2, and it actually patched a couple of WebKit vulnerabilities. I think most of them were reported by Chinese researchers, but it wasn't somehow connected to something big, or if you remember the language that Apple uses, Apple is aware that this may have been massively exploited, so things like that. And that language is not in 17.2. However, that language is, I think, in 17.0.2. And in particular, that is related to a predator predator chain, which is way more interesting. In particular,
is that a mistake?
I wonder if it's a mistake and they mean 17.02, or like, are we missing something here? Because that chain, the one that Citizen Lab wrote about in 2023, and Google Tag also wrote about, so that was a pretty big discovery of Predator being deployed in Egypt through man in the middle, which is exactly the same reason why you have to use VPNs, because your ISP can deploy, and they have deployed Predator with 3.0 days onto people's iPhones through man in the middle attacks happening at your telecom provider. And this is exactly the kind of attacks that VPNs defeat. So I was wondering, maybe it's related to that. Unfortunately, no information, but it would make sense to be 17.02, that patch, not 17.2.
Pardon me, sir. But the other alternative being that 3.0 days are deployed through the VPN service, right?
Yes, but then it wouldn't be your government. Like, who do you worry about? Do you worry about your government, who can put you in prison for advocating for DeepSeek instead of OpenAI? Or do you worry about your, friends from a different government, like maybe from Guatemala, or what was it, Lesotho? Have you ever heard of this country?
No.
Yes, it's an African country. It's a small African country, yes.
Deploying the 0-day to you, I'm just making fun
But
of
that's
you.
my point. Like, no. Okay. At least it's expensive to set up a fucking telco. It's expensive to get in an ISP. It's expensive to do this. Like, my issue with the VPN thing is always like, who? It's the same discussion we keep having. Who owns this fucking VPN? And does that person still own the VPN tomorrow and the day after, versus somebody walking up being like, walk away. Here's $30 million. Fuck off, right?
It, right? Yeah.
Let me meet you right there in the middle. Like, deploy your own VPN. Like, buy a VPS, cheap VPS at DigitalOcean, wherever. Host it in Germany, or I don't know, in Singapore, and deploy your own VPN, and then you'll be fine. I think against this kind of attacks.
Quick question.
Fair. That's good.
Quick
as
question.
Long as nobody pops the server.
Why are people still on iOS 17.2? Is there like a technical roadblock that blocks people from upgrading to the latest 18.3.2? Is there like all the devices can only get up to 17? What's the...
See, what they mean here is that it was originally blocked. So they did a patch in 17.2, maybe even by mistake. This is not clear. Or 17.02, there was a patch. And they did a supplementary fix because it would appear that, it happens that the patch is not complete. like under some special conditions it can still be exploited, so we're gonna close it the right way. Yeah, so that could explain it. But to answer your other question, there are, for instance, if you have an iPhone X, that one is limited to iOS 16, so you cannot put even 17 on it. You cannot
I
put
see.
18,
So
obviously.
some of the older devices, the newer
Mhm.
operating system wouldn't get loaded on it. So in some cases
Correct.
where there are these activists and so on, we're guessing that they're running old machines that can't possibly be updated.
Look, an iPhone X is a wonderful device. It's like it's still. I've seen people with iPhone X, which was beautiful. Like the design itself was beautiful, and the
Yeah.
phone still works. Like the battery is fine. The phone works very well. It just doesn't get newer iOS versions, unfortunately.